The first thing I noticed when I opened my front door wasn't the overturned furniture or the scattered papers. It was the silence, that heavy, unnatural quiet that wraps around you like a burial shroud, whispering that something is terribly wrong. I'm Audrey, and I just spent 3 days at a corporate retreat, learning how to trust my colleagues through ridiculous team-building exercises. Now I'm standing in my ransacked living room, realizing I should have been more concerned about trusting my own family. My fingers trembled as I dialed Ryan's number. 1 ring, 2 rings, the familiar click of voicemail. Of course, my dear husband was probably at his mother's house, pretending not to know why his wife was calling. Ryan, someone broke into the house. The safe is open. Call me back immediately. I walked through the debris of my violated home, cataloging the damage. Photo frames face down, drawers pulled out and emptied, couch cushions slashed open. But they hadn't been looking for money or jewelry. No, this was personal. They went straight for what mattered most. My grandmother's letters, the only pieces I had left of her. My phone buzzed. Not Ryan. Evan from work. How was the drive back? He asked. Someone broke into my house. My voice cracked. The safe. They knew the combination. Evan. Jesus. Are you okay? Do you need me to come over? No. I know exactly who did this. I kicked aside a torn magazine. Helen's fingerprints are all over this mess. She's been trying to get those letters for months. Your mother-in-law. Why would she? Because she can't stand that Ryan married someone who won't bow to her every whim. I reached the kitchen, where even the cabinets had been emptied. She thinks those letters prove my grandmother's family wronged hers decades ago. Some ancient real estate dispute she won't let die. Call the police, Evan said. And tell them what? That my mother-in-law used a key my husband probably gave her to steal family documents. That my sister-in-law probably helped because she's bitter about her divorce and wants to hurt someone else's marriage. I laughed, but it came out hollow. They're too smart for that. They'll say Ryan gave them permission. It'll be my word against the entire Miller family. The basement door stood open. I hadn't checked down there yet. I have to go, Evan. I need to see what else they took. Audrey, wait. I hung up and descended the stairs, each step creaking under my feet. The basement light flickered on, revealing more chaos. But something caught my eye. A small piece of paper trapped under a fallen box. I pulled it free. It was a receipt from the hardware store 3 days ago for a duplicate key. My phone buzzed again. Ryan. Where are you? I asked before he could speak. At Mom's. Listen, Audrey, I can explain. Did you give her a key? Silence. Then, she said she just wanted to look for some old family photos while you were away. I didn't think. You never do think when it comes to her, do you? I crushed the receipt in my fist. Those letters were all I had left of my grandmother, Ryan, the only things that were truly mine. We can talk about this when I get home. No. The word came out sharp enough to cut. We'll talk about this in front of everyone. I'm coming over there right now. And Ryan, tell your mother to prepare for war. I ended the call and stood in my destroyed basement, surrounded by the wreckage of trust. They thought they could break me, make me submit to their control, like everyone else in their lives. But they had no idea what they'd just started. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one who strikes first. It's the one who knows how to strike back harder. Helen's pristine living room made my skin crawl. Everything perfectly arranged, not a cushion out of place, while my house lay in ruins across town. The family photos on her walls told their own story. Ryan and Chloe's childhood moments, carefully curated to show Helen's version of reality. Not a single picture of my wedding day among them. I have no idea what you're talking about. Helen's voice dripped honey-sweet poison as she poured tea into delicate cups. Ryan gave me permission to look for old family albums while you were away. Nothing more. Chloe sat beside her mother, arms crossed, wedding ring conspicuously absent. You're being hysterical, Audrey, as usual. I placed the hardware store receipt on the coffee table. Funny how you needed a new key made 3 days ago. Planning ahead? Ryan shifted in his seat, eyes darting between his mother and me. Maybe we should all calm down. Oh, we're very calm, I said, watching Helen's perfectly manicured fingers tighten around her teacup. Just like we were calm last Christmas when you went through my phone while I was sleeping. Or last month when you showed up unannounced at my office to check on me. I worry about my son, Helen said. Someone needs to look out for his interests. His interests. My laugh felt like broken glass in my throat. Or yours. Mother was right about you from the start. Chloe leaned forward, eyes gleaming. You never understood our family, always keeping secrets, hiding things in that safe of yours. Those letters belong to my grandmother. Letters that prove your family cheated ours 60 years ago. Helen's mask cracked. That property should have been ours. Your grandmother knew exactly what she was doing when she… Mother! Ryan's warning came too late. I stood slowly, pieces clicking into place. So you admit you took them? Helen's face smoothed over instantly. I admitted nothing. And you have no proof. You're right. I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over the record button. But I will. Ryan, are you coming home or staying here? He looked at his mother, then at me. Always torn, always choosing the path of least resistance. I think maybe we all need space to cool off. Wrong answer. I headed for the door, pausing to look back at Helen. You know what's funny? Those letters you stole? They're not even the originals. Just copies I kept as decoys. Grandmother taught me well. Always keep what matters most, where manipulative people can't reach it. Helen's teacup clattered against its saucer. You're lying. Am I? Guess you'll have to wonder about that, along with what else I might have hidden away. I met Ryan's eyes. Don't bother coming home tonight, or maybe ever. Audrey, wait. He started to rise, but Chloe grabbed his arm. Let her go, she said. She's just trying to manipulate you, like always. I closed the door on Helen's perfectly ordered world and walked to my car. My hands shook as I gripped the steering wheel, but not from fear. The originals were safe, just as I'd said, locked away in a safety deposit box since the day I married Ryan, and saw the hunger in Helen's eyes when grandmother's letters were mentioned at the wedding. My phone buzzed. Evan again. How bad was it? He asked. They took the bait. Helen practically confessed. I started the engine. But I need your help with something else. Remember that security system you installed at your lake house? The one with the hidden cameras. Yeah, why? Because I'm done playing defense. They want to go through my things? Let's make sure we catch them in the act next time. I pulled away from Helen's house, watching it shrink in my rearview mirror. And Evan, thank you for being the one person in my life who actually listens. Always. But Audrey, just be careful. People like that, they're most dangerous when they're cornered. I ended the call, mind already racing with plans. Helen thought she knew everything about me, had me all figured out. But she'd forgotten one crucial detail. I'd spent 3 years watching her manipulate everyone around her. I'd learned from the best. And now it was time to put those lessons to use. The coffee shop across from Helen's favorite salon wasn't my usual spot, but it gave me a perfect view. I'd been watching for 2 hours when Evan slid into the seat across from me, pushing a fresh cup toward my hands. The cameras are set up, he said. Motion sensors, night vision, everything feeding directly to your phone. But are you sure about this? I nodded toward the salon's window, where Helen and Chloe sat getting their weekly manicures. Listen. I pressed play on my phone, their voices crystal clear through the bug I'd planted in Helen's purse during our confrontation. We need those original letters, Helen was saying. That safety deposit box has to be at her bank downtown. Ryan says she's been going through their financial records, Chloe replied, probably planning to divorce him and take everything. Over my dead body. I didn't spend 30 years building this family's reputation to have her destroy it. We're going back to the house tomorrow while she's at work. There has to be something we can use against her. I stopped the recording. Still think I'm paranoid? Evan's face hardened. We should take this to the police. And tell them what? That my mother-in-law is planning to rob me. They'll say it's a family matter. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. Besides, I want more than just stopping them. I want them to face consequences for once in their privileged lives. My phone buzzed. Ryan calling again. Third time today. I declined it. He's been sleeping at their house, I said. Probably plotting with them, trying to figure out where the originals are. Or maybe he's worried about you. Then he should have worried before giving them a key to our house. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth before choosing them over me. Again. A text from Ryan. Please come home. We need to talk. Home, I muttered. Like that means anything anymore. Evan leaned forward. Audrey, I know you're hurt, but the salon door chimed. Helen and Chloe emerged, fresh manicures gleaming. They headed toward Helen's Mercedes, but Helen paused, looking directly at the coffee shop window. I didn't move, couldn't breathe. Her lips curved into that knowing smile I'd grown to hate. She knew I was watching. Time to go, I said, standing abruptly. They'll be at my house tomorrow at 10, according to their usual schedule. That's when we'll catch them. Evan raised an eyebrow. I thought you wanted to handle this yourself. I do, but I gathered my things, hands shaking slightly. I can't face them alone anymore. I need someone in my corner. Always. He touched my arm gently. Just promise me something. Don't let revenge consume you. I've seen what it does to people. I watched Helen's car pull away, remembering the day she'd first shown her true colors. Our wedding reception, when she'd cornered me in the bathroom. You'll never be good enough for this family, she'd said. One day, Ryan will realize that. This isn't about revenge, I told Evan. It's about justice, and maybe saving Ryan from them, even if he doesn't want to be saved. My phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. I opened it and felt my blood freeze. Found something interesting in your grandmother's old law firm records. Tomorrow noon, Riverside Park. Come alone, or Ryan learns everything about the Anderson case. Evan noticed my expression. What's wrong? I closed the message, mind racing. The Anderson case, my grandmother's biggest regret. The secret she'd taken to her grave. The real reason Helen hated our family. Nothing, I lied, forcing a smile. Just work stuff. I should go prepare for tomorrow. But as I walked to my car, Helen's words from 3 years ago echoed in my head. One day Ryan will realize that. Maybe she was right. Maybe tomorrow he would. And maybe it was time he did. Riverside Park looked different at noon. Colder somehow. I sat on a bench, clutching a manila envelope. Ammunition for whatever game Helen was playing. The Anderson case, files my grandmother had sealed away decades ago. Now a weapon in my hands. A shadow fell across my lap. Not Helen. Ryan? My voice cracked. What are you? Mother told me everything. He sat beside me, leaving careful space between us. About the Anderson case. About what your grandmother did to our family. The envelope felt heavier. Did she tell you how your grandfather tried to blackmail mine? How he threatened to destroy their law firm unless they gave him that property? That's not. He stopped, rubbing his face. She said you'd try to twist things. Like she twisted you. I turned to face him. When did you give her the safe combination, Ryan? His silence was answer enough. The day after our wedding, I continued. When she convinced you I was hiding something. That's why you've been checking our bank statements, right? Looking for evidence I'm stealing from you? I was protecting our family. Our family. The laugh that escaped me didn't sound like my voice. There is no our family. There's only ever been yours. My phone buzzed. Evan texting about the cameras he'd installed. Everything was ready for tomorrow's trap. But suddenly, it all felt hollow. She's using you, I said softly. She always has. And you let her because it's easier than standing up to her. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I stood, dropping the envelope in his lap. Here, the precious Anderson case files. Proof that your grandfather was the one who committed fraud, not mine. Proof that your mother's been lying all these years. He stared at the envelope. How did you get them? From my grandmother's old partner. Turns out he's been waiting years for someone to finally expose the truth. I stepped back. But you know what? Keep them. Burn them. Give them to Helen. I don't care anymore. Audrey, wait. I filed for divorce yesterday. The words hung between us like shattered glass. Ryan's face went pale. You what? Check your email. The papers should arrive today. My hands were steady now. I'm done being the villain in Helen's story. Done watching you choose them over me. Done pretending we have a marriage worth saving. He stood, reaching for me. We can fix this. I'll talk to Mother. That's exactly the problem. I moved away from his touch. Your first instinct is still to run to her. It always will be. My phone buzzed again. Helen this time. Where are you? We had a deal. I typed back, deals changed. Ask Ryan about the files. You can't just throw away 3 years of marriage, Ryan said. You already did that when you gave them the key to our house. I started walking away, then paused. You know what the saddest part is? I actually thought I could save you from them, but you don't want to be saved. Audrey. Goodbye, Ryan. I walked through the park, past the spot where he proposed, past the bench where we used to have Sunday picnics. My phone kept buzzing. Helen, Ryan, even Chloe. I silenced them all. Only Evan's message got through. Cameras are live. You still want to go through with tomorrow's plan? I stopped at the park exit, looking back one last time. Ryan stood where I'd left him, envelope clutched in his hands, looking lost. For a moment, my resolve wavered. Then I remembered the ransacked house, the violated safe. 3 years of subtle manipulation and gaslighting. Yes, I texted back. But change of plans. I don't just want to catch them in the act anymore. What do you want? I watched Ryan pull out his phone, probably calling Helen, always running back to Mother. I want to destroy them, I typed, all of them. Because sometimes the only way to save yourself is to burn everything to the ground and start over. The security camera feed flickered on my laptop screen as I sat in my car across the street. 10 minutes until Helen's usual Thursday morning intrusion. Evan's sophisticated setup captured every angle of my house. Front door, back door, even the garden path Helen loved to criticize. You don't have to watch this, Evan said from the passenger seat. We can just let the cameras record. I need to see it. My knuckles whitened around my coffee cup. Need to know exactly how they do it. Right on schedule, Helen's Mercedes glided to a stop in front of my house. She stepped out, perfectly coiffed as always, followed by Chloe. But then a third door opened. Ryan. The coffee cup crumpled in my grip. He's helping them. They approached the front door, Ryan glancing nervously over his shoulder. Helen said something, gesturing impatiently. He pulled out a key, not the copy, but his original. Jesus, Evan muttered. Audrey, maybe we should… Wait, I grabbed his arm as a fourth figure emerged from Helen's car. Who is that? The man in the expensive suit walked with authority, carrying a briefcase. He looked familiar somehow. That's James Morton, Evan said. Helen's lawyer. I've seen him at charity events. The group disappeared inside my house. I switched between camera views, watching them move through rooms with disturbing familiarity. Helen directed them like a general commanding troops. The study, she was saying, voice clear through the hidden microphones. Those Anderson files have to be here somewhere. Mother, she said she gave them to me, Ryan protested weakly. Copies, obviously. You think your wife would give up her only leverage? Search everything. I watched them tear through my home again, but this time was different. This time, I saw Ryan's hands shaking as he opened drawers, saw Chloe's satisfied smirk as she knocked books off shelves, saw Helen's mask slip when she thought no one was watching, revealing raw desperation beneath. The safe, Morton said suddenly. Did you check behind it? My breath caught. The wall safe had been a decoy. Everyone knew about it. But behind it, there's nothing back there, Ryan said quickly, too quickly. Helen's eyes narrowed. Move it. Mother, move it. I grabbed my phone, fingers hovering over 911. Behind that safe was a hidden compartment, installed by the previous owner. Inside were documents far more damaging than the Anderson case. Evidence of Helen's own financial misconduct, carefully gathered over 3 years of watching and waiting. Ryan stepped forward, then stopped. No. What did you say? Helen turned on him. I said no. His voice strengthened. This ends now. We're leaving. After everything I've done for you. Helen's calm cracked. That woman has poisoned you against your own family. That woman is my wife. Not anymore, Morton interrupted smoothly. The divorce papers were filed yesterday. You have no legal right to prevent us from… From what? I stepped into the doorway, phone recording everything. Breaking and entering, destruction of property, conspiracy. They froze like guilty children, except Helen. She smiled that knowing smile. Perfect timing, dear. We were just discussing the Anderson case and other family matters. I can see that. I moved further into the room, Evan close behind. But you made one mistake, Helen. You got sloppy. Desperate. I don't know what you mean. The Anderson case was never about property fraud, was it? It was about covering up what really happened. What you did. Her smile slipped. You're confused. The real documents aren't behind that safe. They're already with the district attorney. I met Ryan's stunned gaze, along with proof that your mother embezzled millions from her own charity foundation. That's why she's so desperate to find evidence against my family. To protect herself. The room erupted in chaos. Helen lunged for her lawyer. Chloe started screaming. Ryan stood frozen between them all. But I kept my eyes on Helen, watching her perfect world crumble. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about letting them destroy themselves. And sometimes justice comes from simply telling the truth. The police lights painted my living room in alternating red and blue. Helen sat primly on the couch, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face as she spoke to the officers. I was just trying to protect my son, she sobbed. From her, she pointed at me, and I watched 3 years of careful planning crumble. Mrs. Miller was threatening our family, Morton added smoothly. We have evidence of her harassment, her obsession with destroying her mother-in-law's reputation. The break-in was merely an attempt to recover documents that rightfully belonged to the family. My phone felt heavy in my pocket, the recording of their intrusion now useless. They'd gotten ahead of me, turned it all around, just like Helen always did. That's not true, Ryan said suddenly. All eyes turned to him. Mother, stop. Just stop. Helen's tears vanished instantly. Ryan, dear, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. He stepped away from her, toward me, but I backed away. Too little, too late. The embezzlement accusations, they're true, aren't they? That's why you've been so desperate to destroy Audrey's family's reputation, to cover your tracks. Everything I did was for this family. Helen's mask shattered completely. That money secured your future, your sister's future, and she jabbed a finger at me, threatened to ruin everything. The officers exchanged glances. One spoke into his radio. Mrs. Helen Miller, we're going to need you to come down to the station. This is absurd. I'm the victim here. She turned to her lawyer. Morton, do something. But Morton was already edging toward the door. I think our professional relationship has concluded, Helen. Given the circumstances, everything happened quickly after that. Helen screaming as they led her away. Chloe following, wailing about family loyalty. Morton slipping out during the chaos. The evidence I'd gathered being collected, documented, tagged. Ryan stayed. Audrey, he started. Don't. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly cold. Just don't. I didn't know about the charity money, about any of it, I swear. But you knew about the break-ins, the harassment, the lies. My voice cracked. You chose them. Every single time, you chose them. I can fix this. Fix what? I gestured at our destroyed home. My grandmother's letters are still gone. Our marriage is over. Your mother's going to jail. What exactly can you fix? Evan appeared in the doorway. Audrey, the detective needs your statement. I moved to follow him, but Ryan caught my arm. I love you, he said desperately. Isn't that worth something? I looked at his hand on my arm. remembering every touch, every promise, every moment I'd thought we were building something real. Then I remembered watching him help them break into our home, watching him choose his mother's lies over my truth one last time. Love without trust isn't love, I said quietly. It's just another form of control. I pulled away, leaving him standing in the wreckage of our life together. The detective waited with more questions, more forms, more procedures, hours of explaining how I'd gathered evidence of Helen's embezzlement, how I'd documented her harassment, how I'd watched my marriage die slowly, under the weight of manipulation and lies. Later, alone in my car, I pulled out my grandmother's last letter, the real one, not the copy Helen had stolen, the one I'd kept close all these years. "Remember, dear heart," she'd written. "Sometimes winning means walking away. Sometimes the greatest victory is in refusing to play their game at all." My phone buzzed. Ryan again. I declined the call and started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I could see him standing in the doorway of what used to be our home, looking lost. For a moment, my heart ached. But as I drove away, I realized something. In trying to destroy Helen, I'd almost become her. Manipulative, obsessed with control, willing to sacrifice anything for victory. My grandmother had been right. The real win wasn't in bringing Helen down. It was in finally setting myself free. The courthouse hallway stretched endless and cold. I sat on a hard wooden bench, watching Helen's society friends whisper among themselves as they waited for her arraignment. 3 weeks since the break-in, and still they couldn't quite believe their charitable board president was facing embezzlement charges. Ryan appeared at the end of the hall, dark circles under his eyes. Chloe clung to his arm, shooting daggers at me with her eyes. I focused on my phone, pretending to read emails. "Audrey," his voice was closer than I expected. "Can we talk?" "The divorce papers are with your lawyer," I said without looking up. "Just sign them." "That's not," he sat beside me, too close. "Mother wants to make a deal." Now I looked at him. "A deal?" "She'll return your grandmother's letters, all of them, if you drop the charges." A laugh bubbled up, bitter as coffee grounds. "You really don't get it, do you? She's still my mother. And that's all that matters, right?" I stood, needing distance. Even after everything she did, everything she stole, she made mistakes. Mistakes, my voice carried, making heads turn. She systematically destroyed our marriage, terrorized me in my own home, stole millions from her own charity. Those aren't mistakes, Ryan. They're choices. Helen's lawyer appeared, beckoning to Ryan. But before he could move, the courthouse doors burst open. Evan rushed in, clutching a manila envelope. "Got it," he said, breathing hard. "Found it in Morton's office." I opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was a single document, a letter from Helen to her lawyer, dated 3 years ago, the day before my wedding. "What is that?" Ryan asked. "Insurance," I said, scanning the contents. "In case I ever threatened her control over you." I looked up as Helen entered in handcuffs, flanked by officers. She planned this from the beginning. The harassment, the break-ins, everything. It was all calculated to make me look unstable, obsessed with the Anderson case. Helen's eyes locked onto the letter. For the first time, I saw real fear there. "Where did you get that?" she demanded. "Your lawyer isn't as loyal as you thought." I held up the letter. "You documented everything, Helen. Every step of your plan to destroy me. And now everyone's going to know exactly who you are. You ungrateful little—" She lunged forward, but the officers held her back. "Mother, stop." Ryan moved between us. "Just stop." Helen's face crumpled. "Everything I did was for you, to protect you from her." "From what?" Ryan's voice cracked. "From being happy? From having a life outside your control. She never loved you like I do." "No," I interrupted. "I loved him enough to let him choose. You loved him enough to make sure he never could." The whispers around us grew louder. Helen's friends watched in horror as their perfect society matron shattered before their eyes. Chloe backed away from her mother, finally seeing the truth she'd helped enable. The arraignment's starting. Evan said softly. I handed the letter to the district attorney, who'd been waiting quietly nearby. Then I turned to Ryan one last time. I did love you, I said. But love shouldn't hurt like this. Audrey, please. Goodbye, Ryan. I walked away as Helen was led into the courtroom, her carefully constructed world collapsing behind me. My phone buzzed. A text from my grandmother's old law partner. Found something in the archives. It read, "Your grandmother would be proud." Outside, the autumn air felt clean and sharp. Evan caught up with me at the bottom of the courthouse steps. "You okay?" he asked. I watched leaves scatter across the pavement, breaking free from their branches, carried away by the wind. "No," I said honestly, "but I will be. Because sometimes winning isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about refusing to let them destroy you. And sometimes the greatest revenge is simply walking away, head held high, leaving them to face the consequences of their own choices." The last box from my old life sat unopened on my new apartment floor. Through the window, downtown lights glittered like scattered stars, so different from the suburban darkness I'd left behind. My phone lit up. Evan's text about Helen's sentencing. 5 years for embezzlement. The society pages were already buzzing with scandal. Her carefully crafted reputation shattered like a dropped teacup. A knock at the door made me freeze. I knew that pattern. 3 quick taps, 1 slow. Ryan stood in the hallway, holding a familiar leather-bound bundle. "Grandmother's letters," I said, throat tight. "Found them in Mother's study while cleaning out the house." He held them out like a peace offering. "They were always yours." I took the bundle, fingers tracing the worn edges. "How is she?" "Angry. Bitter." He shrugged. "Chloe's in therapy. Says she's starting to understand some things about our family. And you?" "Learning to stand on my own." He glanced past me into the apartment. "You're painting." An easel stood by the window, canvas half covered in bold strokes of red and gold, something I discovered by accident, a way to pour out everything words couldn't express. "It helps," I said simply. "Audrey, I don't." I stepped back, creating distance. "We both know why it ended." "I know, He pulled out an envelope. The signed divorce papers. "And something else you should see." Inside was a newspaper clipping from 30 years ago. A small article about a young Helen Miller, before she married into money, desperately trying to prove herself worthy of high society. "She was always afraid," Ryan said quietly, "of losing control, of being exposed as not good enough. I'm not excusing what she did, but I understand it now. Understanding doesn't make it right. No, but it helps me not become her." A siren wailed somewhere in the city below. In my old life, I would have flinched at the noise. Now it felt like a reminder. Life goes on, changes, transforms. "I never wanted revenge," I said, surprising myself with the truth of it. "I just wanted to be free." "I know, that's why you won." He turned to leave, then paused. "The painting, it's beautiful." After he left, I opened the bundle of letters. My grandmother's words flowed across the pages, telling stories of strength, of standing up to bullies, of choosing integrity over revenge. But one passage caught my eye, written just before she died. "Remember, dear heart, some people will try to dim your light because they fear their own darkness. Your power lies not in fighting them, but in continuing to shine." I picked up my brush, adding touches of blue to the canvas. Not everything needed resolution. Not every story needed a neat ending. Sometimes victory wasn't in destroying your enemies, or even forgiving them. Sometimes it was in discovering who you really were without them. My phone buzzed again. Evan inviting me to dinner. Not a date, not yet, but maybe someday. For now, friendship was enough. For now, I had my freedom, my truth, my art. The city lights flickered, casting shadows that danced across my canvas. In my old life, I would have seen threats in those shadows. Now I saw possibilities, patterns, stories waiting to be told. I picked up another brush. The night was young, the canvas was waiting. And for the first time in years, I felt truly, completely free. Not because I'd won, not because Helen lost, but because I'd finally learned the difference between revenge and liberation. And in that difference, I found myself.